Okay, guys, I say to you, I'm an investigative journalist.
Yeah, I have heard that many times come out of your mouth.
And have I ever let you down with that?
Almost every time.
Okay.
Well, you've never been you've never done an investigative.
Well, that ends today. And Nathan, before we start, you are a lawyer. And so this is important to get. I just want to get some legal clearance on what I'm about to do.
Jesus.
If there is if there's a court case, a high profile court case.
Oh my God.
There's often like a gag order for the press, right?
Yes.
Not allowed to comment on it. But can you comment on that person unrelated, say, to the court case?
I'm so scared.
I'm not saying anything about that. You just do what you need to do.
Wait, hold on. I want to know. What are you talking about?
I think I'm just going to lay out my investigation and a lot of evidence that I've found. And then you can tell me at the end whether or not you agree.
I'll be shocked if this ends up in the podcast.
As a listener, if you're hearing this, somebody's made a mistake in the edit. You should not be hearing this. And before he even starts, I'm so sorry. Nathan and I had nothing to do with any of this. If anyone's going down, it should be Reedon.
Go on, Reedon. Floor's yours.
Okay. I'm going to have fun regardless. In the early 2000s when Harry Potter first came out, there was somewhat...
Sorry, came out.
Was released.
Out of the closet on the stairs.
There was somewhat of a culture war within the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church is wondering,
Fuck's sake.
Oh, no.
what are the consequences for, Catholicism in a world where in pop culture we're suddenly, appreciating, witchcraft and occult practices and that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That. Sorry to interrupt. There's that documentary about those kids going to Bible camp, and I just remember that there's this fat preacher going, "Warlocks are not heroes. Warlocks are not heroes."
Well, Nathan, that's exactly what I'm talking about, because Julian Porteous, who was the auxiliary bishop of Sydney, he was more on the fundamentalist side of things, and he would warn that pursuing such alternative even relaxation techniques, things like yoga, Reiki massages and Tai Chi. Now that may encourage experimentation with what he said were dark and deep spiritual ideas and traditions. And then he also was very troubled, I guess, by the Harry Potter books, which he said are attractive to adolescents and can be innocent enough. However, they open up a fascination with this mysterious world and invite exploration of various phenomena through the use of occult practices like seances. So,
I mean, correct me, listeners, if I'm wrong, but I don't think there are any seances in the Harry Potter.
No, but it might encourage them.
We did a seance one time.
Yeah, for fans of our old podcast, you might remember the time we did a seance.
That's right.
And spoke to it.
We met a ghost called Juan.
And we read Harry Potter books, so...
Did we?
There you go. Point proved.
Maybe Julian Porteous has a good point. And I did a little bit of digging. Is there something in the Bible to back this up? Yes, there is.
You read the Bible?
The whole thing cover to cover. I think maybe we can go through it page by page later.
Oh, my.
That would be...
What a lot of fun that would be.
Deuteronomy 18, verse 9 to 12. When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, do not learn to imitate the detestable ways of the nations here. Let no one be found among you who sacrifices their son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft or casts spells, or who is a medium or spiritist, or who consults the dead.
What
Andrew,
is this?
What is happening right now?
Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord.
Stop pointing at me.
Because of the same detestable practices, the Lord your God will drive out those nations before you. So,
Reedon is standing on a table right now shouting Bible verses.
He's got a vein popping out of his head. He's just red in the face.
that's the fundamentalist school of thought. But there's a more moderate...
So, sorry, this is the fundamentalist school of thought about Harry Potter.
Harry Potter in the Catholic Church.
Not the entire fundamentalism.
But there is a more moderate faction.
Of Harry Potter... voices.
Yeah, so, for example, Cardinal George Pell, former Archbishop of Sydney, wrote in his 2007 review of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Harry Potter fits the bill as a hero. He also appeals to good young Christians. He also, in his 2004 book, Be Not Afraid, he says, in regarding the Harry Potter phenomenon, there is a good dose of moral truth in the Harry Potter book and film, and it's a great yarn. In 2001, from the Melbourne Express, George Pell wrote, "It's important for all of us to," talking about Harry Potter, "and children to learn that good and evil are real spiritual forces. Some Christians have criticised both the book and the film as giving respectability to witchcraft, to the occult world of good and bad magic. To my mind, there is not much danger of this because of the world of fantasy is so extreme, such a clever and unusual stimulation of the imagination. It's clearly unreal, interesting, and totally peculiar."
This is
Like
George
the Bible.
Pell said that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think the evidence is really clear, guys.
Wow. What? Are you going to say George Pell's a wizard?
No.
Or he's a Potterphile.
George Pell is a Potterphile.
He clearly is, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he likes Harry Potter.
The evidence
Yeah.
before me is
Yeah.
clear that George Pell is a supporter of Harry Potter. He
Case
loves the
closed.
Harry Potter books.
Case closed.
I have to agree.
There's no question.
There's no question.
By our definition of a Potterphile, which we've stated clearly, the Cardinal George Pell is undeniably a raging Potterphile. Throw the book at him. He's a Potterphile.
Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Throw it at him because he loves it. Because he loves it.
He'll read it.
Throw it at him. I'm so scared.
All right, maybe.
So this is going to be the last podcast of the Harry Potter podcast.
Do we need to take a minute and come back?
Being here.
It feels a little bit like we were, I know it did take us quite a while to get back, but it has felt like, there's been, the universe has been like pulling us towards podcasting again. Because you have to say there's been a few funny deaths since we last potted.
Let's make sure we do those. Let's do those now.
Yeah, I had a chuckle when Cardinal Pell, famous, we can call him now a pedophile, can't we? Big pedophile.
Yes,
Big old
we finally
nonce.
can.
Yes.
Pedophile.
We can openly call him a pedophile Potterphile now.
Yeah, we knew he was a Potterphile, but God, we couldn't ever explicitly say he was a pedophile. And now we can, and what a fucking filthy little nonce he was. Jeez, enjoy hell, brother.
Andrew, we agree. It's a bit of a shame, yes, that definitely drew us right back into the podcasting mode, but
Yeah.
he's a slippery fish. I mean, he slipped through the net of the justice system, and then
Yeah.
he also seems to have timed his death right at the start of January when he knew Paging Mr. Potter would be on a break.
Yeah.
He
Just
didn't.
smart.
He somehow slipped through the net of pod justice as well, and pod justice, the kind that we dish out on this show traditionally. I mean, see our Prince Philip tribute, Queen tribute. It's pretty brutal, and so
Yeah.
there's something a bit dissatisfying about the timing of he's just one absolutely slippery character.
It's true. I mean, this podcast is almost like purgatory, right? Like how that used to act in that, at the end of the day, you will have to pay for your sins and, you will spend some time bouncing around the halls of this podcast being ridiculed before you're allowed to enter the kingdom of heaven. And much like purgatory, if you were to send us money before you die, then you'll spend less time being ridiculed in podcast purgatory.
We're selling indulgences
We're
now.
selling
I like that.
indulgences, so please.
Are we turning into one of those Christian 24-hour channels where you can
I don't think so.
Yes.
evangelical shills?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's kind of the opposite of that, I guess, but in some ways, in that we want your money. So if you are by any chance knocking on heaven's door and there's something that you've done in your past which was, you think could be worthy of mockery, or perhaps maybe there's just something funny about you. If you think maybe you got a funny name and you're worried that when you do, when the happy day arrives and you shuffle off this mortal coil, you're worried that the Potterphiles are going to rip into you. It's pretty simple. Just reach out, DM, send us a little bit of money, and you will be spared eternal laughter, I guess, and damnation.
And I think you should be able to purchase these PMP indulgences, not just for yourself, like for your family members, or even for people you just thought were cool, such as Hitler. We could have a whole podcast on him.
You could have said one.
Controversial figures, written. That's who I'm thinking about.
Can I just say though, that's a pricey meatball.
Yeah, that'll cost you.
That costs you.
It'll cost you.
Maybe we can mint these indulgences because I do already have, as you know, we do already have an NFT for this podcast that somebody did try to buy.
No one's snapped it up yet?
Well, remember somebody did try to buy it and then they had their bank account closed?
Bank account frozen. Yeah.
Have we fixed whatever caused that? And is that
I don't think I was
like
responsible.
all right, or
Oh, yeah.
Can I say
that easy to get by without a bank account in the modern world? So
Yeah,
with the indulgences, I want to make sure. Obviously, we're not making a lot of money from this podcast. We're losing money just simply from hosting the podcast on the server, and no income coming in. Of course, it's an important income stream for us in 2023. So I want to make sure that our PMP indulgences are holding, at least ideally gaining value throughout the year. And the only way that we can do that is through threat of fear. So the indulgences don't mean that much if people aren't scared that we're going to say
to roast,
roast their, like the darling younger brother who just passed away. If people aren't afraid of that, then
and this is a similar tactic, right? This is a similar tactic to the Catholic Church, right? I mean, this is how all the fire and brimstone stuff really took off, was because you have to scare the shit out of everyone so that they then want to, buy those indulgences so they spend less time in purgatory. So I think that's a good point. We should follow in the in the path of the Catholic Church, especially. I mean, I guess that's a bit of a nod to George Pell.
Yeah, in some ways we should. In other ways, we shouldn't necessarily follow in their footsteps too closely.
Not every aspect.
No.
I mean, they put themselves out to be sort of moral authorities. So for the most part, I think we'll get by.
Okay.
Now, just on Cardinal Pell, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think in all the sort of coverage of his... I'm going to use the word again, controversial legacy. I've used that to describe Hitler. And now a not convicted pedophile, known pedophile.
No.
I think what's getting lost in translation a little bit is how much of a dumb cunt he was.
Oh, so dumb.
I just wanted to draw you guys' attention. Do you remember about 10 years ago, he was on Q&A one time?
Yeah. Vaguely.
And I looked it up the other day in preparation, obviously, for his eulogy on today's pod. And I thought it was with Christopher Hitchens, but unfortunately it was with Richard Dawkins. So it was even more obnoxious, and it would have at least been a bit funny if it was Hitchens. It wasn't funny. It was just irritating. Yeah. But there's one particular part. I want to find it, and if I do, I'll chuck it in now. But he... remember when creationism in schools was like a big topic that people were actually scared about?
Crazy. What a sign of the times. Things are so much worse now. Like as if anyone cares about that anymore. As if that's a pressing issue.
Just wait for QAnon and shit. Wait for COVID, man.
Yeah.
You have no idea what's coming. But anyway, so Tony Jones asked Pell...
Do you accept that humans evolved from apes?
Yeah, probably. From Neanderthals, yes. Whether...
From Neanderthals?
Probably.
Why from Neanderthals?
Well, who else would you suggest?
Neanderthals were our cousins. We're not descended from them. And we're both descended from...
Are these extant cousins? Where will I find a Neanderthal today if they're my cousins?
They're not extant, they're extinct.
Exactly, that's my point.
Your point is that because they're not... that because they're extant, they can't be our cousins.
I really am not much fussed.
Well, if they're our cousins, then can I go and have a chat to one? Where are they? Point to them. And the crowd is like pissing themselves laughing, like fully on his side in hysterics. What? Like he fucking owns.
That is the benefit
Dawkins.
of debating Richard Dawkins, is like you can say anything and the crowd's still going to be on your side.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man.
Wow. Real dumbass.
Who else died?
Well, this one wasn't that funny.